stayed silent for a while because there was some emotional stuff going on. You know, sometimes you live together with people and you will realize that although you know exactly what they need, you know, they don't want to hear it. You know, sometimes you can go to someone and have a fight or a discussion. Let's say, I don't know, maybe you're in a relationship, right? Or maybe you have parents, or maybe you have friends, right? Maybe you have children. And sometimes people pick fights with you on purpose. Whether or not they do this consciously is absolutely irrelevant, because the fact is that they're doing it. And that means you have to learn how to deal with this. So we're living in a kind of system that has a knack for producing emotionally unstable personalities, because these people have been living their lives unable to ever express what they feel, because as soon as they would do so, somebody would give them shit for it, or maybe they didn't even have, you know, if you've never had a father, for instance, you know, who could you talk to about, you know, or who could you turn to if you feel weak? So, you know, if you grow up, and I mean, we're talking about post-war generations, right? That's the generations of our fathers and grandparents and stuff. I mean, my grandparents were in the war. They're war refugees. So yeah, you know, despite the fact that Hitler is one of the reasons that I'm alive today, so thank you for that. This war also produced a lot of war orphans and children that didn't really have parents, because these parents were so busy holding on, right, to all the shit that happened to them, because, you know, that's all they could do. Stuff was taken from them, right? Fathers beating their sons or their daughters, you know, violence, you know, it's all being passed down, right? Maybe you have fathers that just sit at home, they don't really say much, they're emotionally inaccessible. You know, yeah, I can tell you a story about that. But I also had to learn that as much as I wanted to have a father, you know, that would, you know, have time to play with me, or I don't know, treat me kindly when I had an injury. Yeah, but instead I had a father that had no idea, you know, how he was supposed to be as a father, because his father was never like that. So all you can do is learn what you can from, you know, the people who raised you, and then look at how other people are, and then pick what you need in order to be the version of a parent that you can be without hating your parents. I mean, that sounds like awfully complicated, and that I'm talking to you in like a lot of wind probably doesn't really improve it. You know, at least today I'm not really bothered that she's just trudging along, because by now I've realized, you know, she does it anyway. So I don't have to force her to be in front, because, you know, if she humbly walks behind me until I humbly hide her stick thingy, you know, that's okay. So, right, some people, they feel like, you know, they want help, right? Maybe it's like a cry for help, right? Whatever they do, they think somebody ought to help them because they're afraid. The only person that can truly help you is you, because you're the only one who knows truly how you feel and what you need. So that means, of course, what you need to do is to figure out what you need to do. And that sounds very confusing, but I didn't have much more to go with when I started. You know, all I had was, you know, some like secret messages from John Strelicky, where he says things like, you know, in one of his books, Why Are You Here Cafe, or what's his name, right, when he says in that book, he says it, I mean, there's just characters that he put in there, but basically he says, every day, you know, you do something that you like, and every day you do a bit more what you like. But in order to do that, of course, you have to figure out what you like. And now, you know, I don't want to talk to you too much about my situation. And do you know why? Yeah. Because if I open up to people, they tend to look down on me. You know, if I start doing things for people and I show them that I'm also vulnerable, you know, they often treat me like I'm some kind of, I don't know, peasant, you know, like I'm an inferior. Because they think, because I'm opening up, they think it's weakness, but it's strength, right? And it's your weakness that shows in you looking down on me. So, you know, you have to get strong. That's what it means. You know, being weak isn't the problem. It's staying weak that's the problem. You know, and I see so many people who haven't had the childhood that they thought they were supposed to have. But then I see that, right, there are so many people out there that have it so much worse than me or you or I don't know who. And they don't seem to care. They just continue. Like so saying, I'm emotionally unstable, and that's the reason why I'm like this. You know, it may work for a while, but you know, that kind of sob story gets boring really fast. But sometimes you still need to say it so that people understand. They can't just give you shit for stuff all the time. Right? So, just understand my position just for a second. You know, I'm a spiritual being, yeah? I'm aware of my spiritual nature. And I realized, you know, however funny that may sound to some people, you know, I feel like I have to say that. To me, it's very real. Yeah, and you may think I'm deluded or whatever, or crazy or mad, but you cannot help but notice that the stuff that I'm creating is like quite impressive. So whatever I have to say, at least consider, right, that, you know, I'm the one that's creating all this stuff for you, so that you can spend your time with content that at least has a kind of way to deal with depression. So just so you know, right, before you judge me, that I have had a vision of how my life could be, and I had it during an ayahuasca ceremony, and I had it because I wanted to have it, because I was looking for something to hold on to that could show me a way out of my depression. And when it presented itself to me, I said I'm gonna fucking do it. Because, you know, what else am I gonna do? It's either that or living the life of my parents. And to me, that's hell. If I see how other people live their life, that to me is hell, right? Just working a dead-end job, you know, working for money, just for money, so that you can live a comfortable life, but without, you know, wanting to give back. That's not really what I want. You know, I want to put myself out there and to show people who feel a bit like me, like they're the weirdos, you know, like the ones that are always laughed at or smiled upon, or that are being called funny names by their fathers, right? Because their fathers are like, you know, emotionally traumatized, by their own fathers, and so on and so forth. So I want to break that cycle. You know what Daenerys Targaryen says? I want to fucking break the wheel of torture and suppression. Well, in the end, she, you know, added to the wheel because she fucking lost it. And I mean, the guy who created her also never finished the story, so that says something about him as well, of course. I mean, he wasn't really honest about it. And you know, I don't really want to pick on him, but just look at, you know, he just created a show full of sex and violence. I mean, there wasn't a lot of hope and stuff. I mean, sure, you know, some people managed and some people did not. Yeah, I don't really know where I'm going, but that's generally how it is. I'm just gonna keep walking, keep walking, keep walking. All right, so he created a show, and the protagonist, or one of the protagonists, went kind of nuts. She had a lot of potential, but she couldn't hack her own life, right? So she went mad. And whatever reason you may put to that, she went mad, right? Maybe she shouldn't have strived to be Daenerys Stormborn, right? Because somebody told her she was something. But in the end, she still contributed to the story of Game of Thrones. So, you know, you don't know where you're gonna land when you start walking. Whether you're going to turn out completely mad or not, I don't know that. I mean, I'm barely holding on every day, you know, today. You know, now I'm going to tell you something. It's really crazy what it means to be a spiritual person and to realize, to become aware of your spiritual nature and of oneness, and we are all connected. You know, I can literally feel some of you people. You know, I don't want to scare you or anything, but that's just how it is. You come into my world, I feel you. And that means, you know, I have to do something with those feelings. So I create content from stuff that I feel from other people. That's insane, but that's what happens. You know, some people, they start creating a podcast, right? They create some kind of show. Ich höre die eher kuscheln. Was ist denn los? Hallo? She's a bit intimidated. Ja, was ist denn los? I don't sometimes know what I'm supposed to do with her. You know, does she need love or something? I think she feels rejected if I don't engage with her. It's difficult. You know, so now I need to balance my life. I also need to balance the people that are now watching my show, because I mean, that's what happens. I have a friend. Yeah, I can call him a friend. You know, sometimes lie. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to know, you know, if you don't talk to somebody for a while. But yeah, my feeling says he's a friend. Yeah. Just walk in front. Come up. Up. Yeah, just, you know, it's tough. It's tough to learn to be gentle. Hey, come. It's tough to learn to be gentle. Nobody ever showed me how to be gentle. You know, when I was 5 years old, I was racing with my bicycle, and I fell, and my whole arm was like, I mean, it was like a scratch wound, but if you're 5 years old, I mean, that's a big deal. And I went home, and, you know, my father was really concerned that I would ooze onto the sheets and make them dirty. You know, that's materialism. right? Looking at the surface of things. He didn't see me as a 5-year-old kid that had emotions. No, he saw me making the sheets dirty. That's the emotional capacity he had. And so he tried to take care of me. You know what he did? He took some kind of bandage, you know, and he, you know, put it on my arm. Well, the next day, that fabric that he used was sticking to the wound. And then he said, well, we have to take that off now. And so he ripped it off. The whole fucking thing. And then he put something on again. The same shit. And the next day he had to do the same thing again. And then he, you know, he got some other bandage that wouldn't stick, but it still stuck. And then I said, okay, I'd rather do it myself, you know, because I just, you know, I'm a little bit more careful. And he's like, but it has to come off anyway. You know, better do it fast. So he did that to me as a 5-year-old child. And I allowed him to do it. So you could say, yeah, you know, boys have to be tough. But that's just shit, because I was just a kid, you know? But that's now the problem, you know, inside, he's still himself that emotionally wounded kid. Was ist denn, du kleine Schmusebacke? I don't know if that's like because I'm talking so much. Because my focus isn't really on her. No, I don't really know. Maybe it's because I did something to her. Or it's because I'm shouting so much. I think... You see, maybe I should just turn it off for a while, because I'm just shouting my lungs out. Maybe she just calms me down. Maybe she feels like I need her. I don't know. Very possible. It's really possible that she's just here to calm me down. Well, I think, you know, my father really should go for a walk. Because just sitting at home and being glued to the laptop, you know, it's just death. You know, I have this camera, I would go anyway. And I'm not really sure if I'm really helping that dog at the moment. I'm just doing it because nobody else does. And if I try to tell people, you know, why don't you go out with her? They just say, I don't have time. You know, I have to earn money. You know, that's the same shit I heard all my life from him. But, you know, at least I'm saying something about that. At least I'm saying something about that. Amy. So today I want to go somewhere else. If that's good, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Change of pace, change of path. Right, so at least I'm saying something to him. I say, you know, you should be walking her. You know, I'm going anyway. Because, you know, I want to create content. And I don't have an excuse of, you know, I don't want to get wet anymore. Or my equipment can break. So I'm just doing it anyway. And I'm taking her for walks, okay. And I don't know if that's nice for her or not. You know, it's hard to say. I just know if I don't go, I'm gonna explode. So to me it's also difficult. You know, it's a challenge. But yeah. So, you know, why am I talking so much? You know, earlier today, it's quite interesting. I just think I have to do this, right? I feel like, you know, I'm kind of trapped in this. I feel like I have to give you something. Right? I have to give you something. Because I think like there's people that feel bad. So to me, I could be walking in silence right now. Whoa! Yo, shit. You know, it would probably be better. I just walk next to the path. So I think what I'm really doing, I'm trying to show people that I'm tough. And I think that's also the problem. Because, that's basically what I learned from my dad. Always acting like he's super tough. But at the same time, there's a kind of tough, like pretending that you're tough, even though you're not. Because you're afraid to show weakness. But there's also this, I can be tough. So why do I pretend to be weak? And that's what I saw in my father at a certain stage, that he just lost it. He was getting tired. Oh, is it? Right. Thus, so he was getting tired of life. It's not a bad thing. It's just, it happens to people that you're getting tired of life. And so, what happens if you're getting tired of life? You lose hope. There's a lot of people that are in that stage. Because a lot of people share my fate. It's like growing up in a world that feels empty and meaningless. And that's why you have to create your own meaning. Because people, they were working their butts off to kind of make it through. So if you still turn to your parents, to lean on, it's kind of shit. And I'm still doing that, you see? Why am I still doing that? Because for once, I'm struggling myself. Because, I've chosen that's what I want to do. I want to create content. And not in a playful, maybe tomorrow I'm going to do something else. No. I'm doing this because I've chosen to do it, because that's the only thing that ever made me feel like, this I could do for the rest of my life. You see, for my father, he had ideas. But he never had the time to implement them. So in my life, he worked hard, so I'm trying to give back what I can. It's my birthday in a couple of days, and I also decided, I'm not gonna exclude everybody. I'm going to invite them, and I'm going to make a chickpea soup and stuff like this. So, that's what I can give at the moment. Yeah, that's what I can give at the moment, because I decided, I don't want to hate. I want to, whatever that means, I want to at least love, right? I want to give back. I like that better. Love is such a wishy-washy word, right? It's like, it doesn't really say anything. But I want to give back. Things. Oh, warte. Bleib. Yes. Right, so I decided I want to give back. Although I didn't really feel like it, but I thought, what the hell? I have something to give, so why not give it? I don't have to do much, I don't want to make cake, but I want to make soup. Because that's something that I can give and feel good about. So I see that people are struggling, so I bring them together. That's what I can do. Until Christmas and New Year's Eve, I shut myself off alone in my room. I've done that for about 1 or 2 years now. But now it's time to open up, and it's really hard, but it's just something maybe that you have to experience. So some decisions are, it's just like, now I'm supposed to love people, you know, that hurt me when I was a child, right? But they were hurt, you know, it's all relative, because they were hurt when they were children, and they never had the time to think about it or get over it, because, you know, by the time they were my age, they already had 3 children. So, you know, what can I mope about? So the least I can do is, when I still live with my parents, is to give something back. But sometimes it's also really tough, because I'm struggling myself, and then there's my mother. She has all kinds of anxieties about all kinds of things, you know, so I'm trying to give her stability, because her husband isn't always accessible, you know, so I'm trying to give her something. Yeah, I don't know, you know, that's just how I seem to be, you know. And then my dad comes and gives me shit about, you know, why aren't you looking for a job? You know, I've told him this is my job. And then he still comes to me and gives me this advertisements for job. And then I say to him, what do you want from me? You know, I'm dealing with enough shit. Like, I still have feelings of suicide. I don't know if those are my feelings, by the way, because I don't actually know what I would kill myself over, because life is actually beautiful. But you cannot forget that, you know, I'm in contact with some of you guys, right? And that means, you know, I'm quite open. I'm really open. And that means when I spend time with you, I will do some of your suffering. And, you know, it's really hard to disconnect from that and to say, you know, I see that you're all suffering, but, you know, I'm trying not to let that touch me too deeply, or, you know, I'm trying not to become that. You know, whatever you're suffering about, that's the thing, it doesn't really matter, because maybe you're suffering your own suffering, but I think if you're living in a toxic environment, you eventually also become toxic. So if I live amongst people that have all kinds of anxieties and that are afraid and that hate themselves, and I mean, they express this with every step that they take, you know, every sigh that they breathe, and every word that they say, you know, it's just like, it's there. If I'm in their emotional space, that means I'm a subject to their suffering. Even if I don't have anything to suffer, I'm still connected to them. And that means I'm suffering as well if I don't deal with that. So what can I do? You know, I'm like a sponge. And a lot of people who are spiritual, you know, these new age children, whatever, they are basically energetic transformers. And that means that you are quite open. And that means that you suck up emotions of other people like a sponge. And that means you have to go into nature and wring it out of you. You have to go and do ice baths or something, right? You have to do emotional cleansing. And you do that because you take responsibility of your abilities, right? As an emotional cleanser, a detoxifier. And that's what's probably gonna happen to me all my life. You know, it's like you're gonna take shit from people and then you're bringing it into nature. But, you know, some people, you can train them. You can teach them how to get rid of that shit without hating everybody, but just seeing everybody as, you know, somebody that's on a journey, and that might be quite tough because they're carrying a lot of baggage, like a lot of baggage. And you can help them a little if you know how to deal with it. Like I said, it's a tough one. It's a really, really tough one. And, you know, there are some methods, and one of them is certainly being creative, but also going outside. And earlier today, you know, I was so frustrated. Do you know why? Because I want to help people so bad, you know, partly because I'm selfish, because yeah, I want to help people, but I also see, you know, I want to get to the next stage of my life. So yeah, sure, I'm helping people, but there's also a pinch of desperation in there. It's like, you know, I want to help people so that people can help me to get the fuck out of here. But that's the thing, you know, at least I'm somebody who's something to teach. I mean, I really have something to teach. So I'm forced by life to continue with this. Why? Because if I want to continue doing what I'm doing because I actually love it, I have to fucking suffer. I have to suffer through this. And one thing that helps me is going for walks, going outside, but also staying creative. Eating the food that helps me to be creative, right? Eating the kind of content that helps me to be creative, right? One person that motivates me, you know, when I have a down day is for once Cash Sultana. You know, that first living room recording of Jungle. When I listen to that, I just get goosebumps, and then I know again why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because sometimes, you know, I feel like this. Not always, but I know how to get there by being creative. You know, and maybe the first song isn't that, but maybe the second one, right? Maybe the first image isn't that, but maybe the second or third one. So sometimes you have to really work through the hatred, right? It's like doing crochet. There's gonna be parts of doing crochet where you just hate doing it. But when you do it anyway, you end up with a new hat or a new scarf or, I don't know, some kind of cup warmer, whatever you're trying to do. So, you know, I've realized that a lot of people have a lot of hatred and it numbs them. You have to work through the hatred. And now we come to the problem of growing up in a spiritually ignorant society, you know, that worships doctors but has no mind for words like energy and being connected and all that kind of stuff. Because there are no methods that people teach you here. You know, if you do crochet, people smile, you know, they like laugh at you. Oh, what a pussy, right? Or you're old-fashioned, right? If you would want to wait with having sex until you meet your, I don't know, your twin flame or something, you know, people will act like you're stupid for waiting. While, you know, sometimes I wish I would have waited, then I wouldn't have to go through all this shit. But, you know, I probably did, right? I probably did, and that's the point. You know, you cannot escape suffering if you're supposed to suffer. Because I didn't know what I was doing, I just did what I felt like in the moment I was doing it. And then at one point, you know, I got sick of suffering, so I didn't want to do anything anymore. Because I thought, oh, it's just gonna get worse. No, in a way you could say it got better. It got better because I kept doing, you know, if you keep suffering, you learn how to deal with suffering. And if you keep suffering, you find new methods to deal with it. And so your first heartbreak is probably pretty bad. Your second one is probably pretty bad. And then third, fifth, I don't know. And at one point you just say, fuck it. You know, now I'm waiting, you know. I'm done with heartbreak, you know. Now I'm waiting for a real woman to come. Yeah, that's a tough one as well. Because maybe she'll never come. And then you're sick of waiting. And then you're sitting at home and thinking, what the fuck? You know. Right? Or you're one of these idiots, you know, that drive around in their cars and they really hit the accelerator. They don't realize that that's not really... I mean, if they want to let off some steam, they should go for a run, but of course that's effort. Oh, I don't want to go for a run. I would rather... yeah, drive really fast in my car, but that doesn't do anything except for burning fuel. And so, you know, if you're struggling with whatever you're struggling with, you have to go out there and do something with your body, more than just move your little foot. You see, that just makes you more depressed. In the moment you feel a rush, but it's an easy rush, because, you know, the thing that does all the work is the car. You don't do shit. You know, you're just sitting at home earning money, but you're not really living. And that's the what's that? And that's the goal of life. Why? You see, it's like, I don't know why I'm talking about all of this stuff. You know, it's like you think it's supposed to help someone, and then you think, who's gonna listen to this? You know, who's gonna listen to this? With all those car noises and... You know, it's just like pure madness. I mean, how can this help anyone? And I said, I think it helps me. Because I just get stuff off my chest. Because if I'm supposed to be here and create content, right? That's what I was talking about. I had a vision of me doing this. And so I either do it or I don't. So if I run around looking for other jobs, you know, I don't say I already have a job, which is doing what I want to do, which is exactly this, right? Living my life as honest as I can be, right? And so, yeah, it hurts a bit if my father comes and he shows me this thing, you know, here, earn some money, and then I say to him, are you fucking kidding me? Like, don't you know that I'm working my ass off to get out of here? And you're still giving me shit for that? Like, I mean, if money is not really your problem, why are you trying to get rid of your son? Right? I mean, I'm helping him, I'm walking the dog, and he's still giving me shit about this kind of stuff. So, you know, he appreciates me doing this, but at the same time, he's taking advantage of me. Because it seems like I'm accessible. And sometimes I say, you know, I don't want to do it. Do it yourself. I mean, you need the walk more than I do. Because at least I would go anyway. You know, I'm doing this now because otherwise nobody else is going to do it. So I'm just doing it. But at the same time, I think, you know, I think it would be better for somebody else to do it. Because just sitting around at home is just gonna make you more weak. That's just how it is. And then saying, yeah, well, but I have to work. Yeah, well, why didn't you work earlier then? Yeah, so instead, I just say, you know, I'm just gonna walk. But in a way, I then also feel a bit bad about that. But, you know, don't feel bad about it. I mean, you're doing it. And whatever you're doing it. And you know, I had all kinds of ideas. Sometimes I have all kinds of ideas. It's like shooting some kind of video, you know, that I feel like doing. It's like, okay, I could do that now. I could shoot a video where I'm dancing or something and put on music, but then I think, why? Like, I don't think it's really the weather to do that. I mean, it's already a stretch for me to go anyway, to go out. Why do I have to, you know, put a cherry on top of that? For who? I mean, if you don't appreciate me doing this, you know, then you won't appreciate anything else. So, the point of me saying this is, when you think you want to help people, it often gets to the point where you are overexerting yourself. And that means you're not really helping anyone anymore. Right? If you're overexerting yourself, you don't help anyone with that. So, what do you have to do? You have to know your own limits. You know, right now I'm talking because I feel like I want to talk. Because I have a lot of stuff piled up, and so I'm getting rid of that. And at the same time, I'm explaining, you know, to somebody who wants to know it, how my mind works, how I see people around me, how people take advantage of you, right? That's how it is. I mean, people are emotionally traumatized. And so what do? They try to find someone that they can let steam off with. And I've had that quite a lot. Right? I have quite a lot of people that want to let off steam with me because they sense that I can take it. And that's when people want to have a fight with you. You know, you come home and then your partner's giving you shit for something because she feels miserable. Or maybe a friend, right? But, you know, I have to deal with my own things. If I'm supposed to take your shit, I mean, why didn't you take responsibility for your own shit and went for a walk? Instead of waiting till I get home so that you can have a go at me. Right? So that's like all these people driving around like mad, like they're in a rush or something. Yeah, I mean, best or worst case scenario is that they're going to have an accident. You know, if that's good or bad, you know, it's energy and they didn't know how to deal with it and they were driving around angry and they had a car crash. Too bad. You know, that's what happens if you're driving around like an idiot. At the age of 20 or something, it flung me out of a turn because it was really cold and I was driving too fast and I was angry because I overslept. And it just like ricocheted me out of that turn. And, you know, I was happy that nothing happened. Well, I did knock down a street sign. But yeah, just in general, it's taking responsibility for your emotions. I don't really want to talk. Ow, fucking hell. You know, sometimes when you're going barefoot and it's wet, there's like all kinds of glass. And when it's wet, you know, it kind of sticks to your foot. These little, really small glass particles. And then they start digging into your skin. So, especially when it's wet. So I actually prefer going barefoot. You know, if you walk in the forest, it's okay because there's generally not so much glass. Oh yeah. Amy. Plus. Well, that was terrible. That was terrible. Scheiße, die Wand an. You know, that's what cities are like. I'm never gonna walk this way again. Fucking hell. This is so awful. I mean, just think about it. That's how some people live. Like, you know, you can be happy if you're living in a somewhat quiet environment. Now imagine you're living in a, I don't know, like a 5-story multi-party apartment building thingy, and you have like 20 Wi-Fi signals hammering your system. I mean, that's madness. So, you know, if that's your situation, then you should figure out a way how to get out of this. Because that's really no way to live. And now you can say, oh, but how am I supposed to do that? Well, by figuring it out. And how are you supposed to do that? By spending time with yourself. Well, how am I supposed to do that? I have children. Well, figure it out. You know, you have to communicate these kind of things. If you have children and you have a partner, find a way. talk to your partner and say, I need the day off. Because if he gets, you know, if you get the day off, then he can have the day off. So instead, you know, that's what I see in a lot of couples, right? Because they're so dependent on each other. Ja, musst du nehmen? Hier nehmen? You know, they're so dependent on each other that, you know, that's what I've observed from relationships. Not just mine, but also others. Yeah, also from my own family. So let's say you're in a relationship, yeah? And you feel like you need time for yourself. And you would communicate that. You have to deal with all kinds of shit from your partner, which is a clinging, needy person. So because you say, I need the day off, that person says, I also want the day off. Why should you get the day off? Blah, blah, blah. That's like child play. That's a very immature way of communicating. Well, then you should say, okay, then you get the day off tomorrow, or you get the day off tomorrow, I'm gonna get the day off today. Or, you know, so instead of look at that. Oh, it's like a smiley face. So instead of taking that shit from the person who's acting like, it's unfair, you just say, fuck you. You know? Alright, you want to have a day off? Your problem if you didn't say so. So I'm gonna get off tomorrow, and you're gonna have a day off, I don't know when. But then you also have to do something. And if you then sit around with your day off at home and do nothing, then that's your wasted opportunity. You know, and now we're coming to the point, how long should you stay in a relationship? Because sometimes I think it's better to leave. But that depends on you. Because if you want to change, but the person doesn't want to change, okay, take responsibility for what you want. If your partner is just really clinging to you, sometimes it's better to just spend time apart, you know? And then you have to make up your mind whether this is final for you, if this is it, because you feel that there is no way in hell or in heaven or in between, you know, that this can ever, never been here actually, that this can ever work out. So, you know, you have to figure it out. Right? It's like sometimes it's like quite tough decisions. Sometimes it's really tough choices. It's like, do I want to follow the road, or do I want to go into the forest more? What the fuck? Right? She actually really likes that. I want to walk here. Okay, so tough choices, you know, figuring it out. You know, it's always a tough choice. No matter what you choose, it's a choice. That means you either stick to it, Sitz, bleib. Okay. She's so eager to find this thing. I'm glad I came here. It's just... Wow. That was fast. Okay, so we're struggling, right? Whew. And how do you figure out what you want then? I mean, there are so many things to do, so many choices, right? So I look for clues in the things that I feel like doing. If I feel like watching a movie, I watch a movie to figure out what I actually want to do. The movie is to me just a method, you know, that I'm still having, that I still have adopted. So I'm kind of meandering, you know, like I'm walking now. It's like serpentines. So you start having a goal in your life. It's like this hike. You know, I cannot quite say where I'm going or where I'm going to come out. All I know is I'm looking for a specific feeling. And that feeling is something that I picked up during my life. You know, these short moments where I felt like, you know, I feel really good. There are moments where I feel like this. Sometimes alone, sometimes with people. You know, it varies. So, you know, that's the same thing. If you're in a relationship, then, and you've lost it, like there's no love anymore, you just hate each other. Well, you have to remember how you used to feel, and then you have to start walking towards that feeling by making decisions that bring you closer to it. But how are you supposed to know what to choose? Well, you're going to look for it. So you're starting to look at couples that are happy together. And then you're going to ask yourself, how do they manage? Well, it's tough. I mean, that's all there is to say about that. You know, it's tough. So how do they manage? By figuring out probably how to work with each other. You have needs, I have needs. So both of you have to be aware of their own needs as well as the needs of their partner. So if they see that the partner is struggling because, you know, he's trying to hold everything together, you know, instead of just letting that happen because, you know, you're trying to look like, I don't know, oh, I'm a strong man, right? I'm not gonna help you. And then, you know, the woman does the same. Yeah, it's like fucked up. You're just an asshole. That's the people I live with. They don't allow themselves to take a break. So they think nobody else deserves a break either. I think that sums it up pretty well. So, how do you deal with that? By taking a break for yourself. You know, today my father, you know, he expects me to walk the dog. Maybe I don't feel like it, right? So what's happening? He just thinks I should do it. And then he has the balls, you know, not even, maybe, I don't know. Is that courage or just being an asshole? To come and show me here, you can work there. You know, he like acting like he wants to get rid of me. Maybe he thinks he's helping me. I don't know. Maybe he is. I don't know. Because by, you know, showing me you don't have to do this job, you can work somewhere else. I could work actually in a climbing hall. But then, you know what he's saying to me? He's saying, do that instead. Wait, instead of what? Because he cannot see how what I'm doing is important to me or to the people that are watching it. You know, things are just starting. So I continue. Because if I would stop, I give up. He wants me to play it safe. That's what he's trying to tell me. And because at the moment, he doesn't see that it's working. You know, my father doesn't know what trust is. He's the kind of insurance person. You know, the kind of a man who has all kinds of life insurances and just insurances for everything. You know, probably also for his glasses. You know, and then he thinks that's the smart thing to do. You know, I would have no insurance if my father wouldn't make sure that I have one. I would just have none. That's just how it is. You know, I would just live off the grid. The only reason I have an insurance is because of him. You know, if I would get sick, you know, I'm quite aware of what's going on with my body. Oh, what's that? So, you know, I know roughly how I feel, right? If I lose a tooth, you know, that tooth is gonna be gone. And I'm gonna figure out how to deal with that. Right, that's a nice place. You see? Yeah. Right? So bleib. Hier! Hey! Aus! Aus! Hierhin. Hier. Sitz. Bleib. Bleib. You see, I don't know how I have to be with her sometimes. You know, do I have to be like really tough? Los? I think so. Because she's supposed to listen. No, I know I threw it anyway. Should have probably not done that. I don't know. So I have the same thing, and that sounds maybe ridiculous, with my father. Because he comes to me and, you know, I'm struggling. You know, today I am just struggling in general, right? Life is tough and I'm struggling. So he comes to me and gives me that. He knows how I feel about it. He's not stupid. But he actually wants to make me angry. Why? Because he's pissed. He is holding down his anger. And what does that mean? He wants to have a fight with me. So he thinks it really is like that. You know, he's not stupid. He's angry and he wants to pick a fight with me. And he knows how I feel about giving me jobs. So he gives me this thing. And he probably thinks, oh, I'm gonna get really angry now. But I didn't really do that. You know, I did have a conversation with him. And I made my point. And I walked her anyway. But I also said, you know, if you're done being lazy, good job. Because you cannot sit around at home, pride yourself that you're earning money. And that's something I learned from my dad by, you know, the principle of duality, right? I looked at what he was doing and I realized it makes no sense. Because you're not really living, you're just sitting at home thinking, oh, I'm earning money. Amy? Ja, was ist denn da? Ja, was ist denn da drin? Los? Right? And so, you know, just living for money is a dead end. So, you know, it's always a trade-off to figure stuff out. Okay, I'm going to pause this recording. Just for a second. So there's a series of exercises I just looked at. It's like animal movement, right? Up. And it starts something like this, right? So you just do like this. And I can already feel how this is working on my lower spine. Right, and you can just do this in different directions, right? It's not like I have to be overly concerned about doing this perfect or not. Was ist denn? Ja, los? Ja. Ja, komm. It's just about, you know, starting to move. And then there was this other move. It's called the scorpion, where you do like this. And then you end like this. And then you're going back again. I feel really shit today. I feel like I'm being tortured from the inside. I don't know why. Maybe it's what I've been eating. You know, I felt like drinking a coffee because I wanted to have some kind of rush. But this is much better. Because the reason I'm feeling the way I'm feeling is probably because of all that anger I'm holding on to. It's like angry at being, you know, angry at people. Ah, my father. You know, it's also anger from other people. So to get rid of that, you have to do something. I mean, you can see a bit how she is. If you don't move for a while, she just gets super agitated. It's like doing this in a room is not the same. Plus, I probably have to clean my room, which is something I have described in my podcast. It's called Spiritually Clean, this episode. So I'm just doing these things how I feel like. And this feels really good, to be honest. So if you don't do that, and you keep drinking coffee, and you eat all the time sugar and stuff, you know, you're so angry on the inside, and you're going to just give people shit for it. And that's why my dad doesn't have to say he's angry. I know he's angry, because it's just the way he treats me, right? It's like the way he looks at me. So, in the end, I think it's just fear. You know, a person who has a lot of insurances has also a lot of anxiety. You know, a person who has insurances is afraid. So I can't really help him, because I tried once. I tried explaining to him that the concept of my own life, like the very principle of who I am, is basically based on trust. Yeah? He doesn't understand that. You know, he tried understanding it, but it doesn't work. I cannot explain this to him because he doesn't get it. So the only thing I can do is I can just do my own thing, but you know, now comes the tough part. You know, he's gonna be miserable about it no matter what. You know, maybe he would feel better if I would leave the life he thinks, because then he wouldn't have to deal with it, that his son, you know, is doing something else and is not looking up to his daddy anymore. You know, that's a tough one for him. So he feels like he has to control me. He has to put me into place. Because if I show to him what I do, what I can do, he feels mediocre. That's his problem. But he tries to make that my problem. And that means if I allow that, it's my... Hey! Wo ist denn das Ding? Ah, you see? I don't know where she put it. Ja, such! Such! Los! Yeah, I don't have it. You had it. You see, of course, I mean, you cannot blame the dog for not taking her toy. But I can see it from here. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, you're really stupid. Ja, da. Da. Hopp. Komm. So yeah, you see, you know, now I could have been like, I often see it in my parents, now I have to walk back again. And it's like they're blaming me because they weren't present in the moment. Now she just has to follow. Right? They weren't present in the moment. They weren't paying attention. And then something happened. Why weren't they present? Because they were probably dealing with something else. With what? You know, some trauma they're being drawn into. That's what happens if you're living basically on the edge of an abyss. That's like emotional trauma for you. It's darkness. And if you cannot separate yourself, you know, what makes you bright and light and what makes you shine from that darkness, and you're all the time being pulled into that, you know, that's what causes some people to go insane about it. I'm not sure if women are more prone to this, but I think it's equal. But generally women are closer to this kind of stuff because, you know, it's like that chaos, it's femininity. But the genius is more or less on the other side of that. So, you know, I sometimes feel literally like I'm going mad. You can go mad with suffering. You know, it's like somebody's being tortured and after that, you're just fucked. You know, if you're being raped, you know, some people, they actually grow stronger because they got raped and they're gonna say, you know, it's never gonna happen again. So they use their anger and fight back. And then there's other people that are just fucked, like literally. Like they're just, bam, it's just gone. Fuck. So maybe you need help, right? I happen to know how to help myself. When I was really down after, you know, the woman I thought, you know, was gonna be my bride or something, yeah, she left me, or I pushed her out, who knows, right? It's like something like that. My somewhat best friend threw me out onto the streets. I was back with my parents, you know, that old kind of sob story. I'm just repeating it. You know, I lived on the streets in Amsterdam for like 2 days or something, and then I called my dad and he picked me up. You know, and then I licked my wounds for 1 year, and now I feel like I'm somewhat alright. You know, for 1 year I didn't really go out much. I just stayed inside and tried to be creative as much as I could. I barely met anyone, and I just helped myself. You know, when somebody gave me money, you know, sometimes there's like Christmas or something, you get money because I didn't work. I used that money to buy the things that would help me to move on, because I was holding on to all that anger and all these negative emotions. So I was working with ceremonial cacao, I was working with rapé, less with cannabis, sometimes psychedelic truffles. Once I had MDMA, but I was only using these things for spiritual or emotional healing. So I didn't just do it all the time. I mean, sure, if I have rapé, you know, I have like 3 8 milliliter bottles of rapé, I'm gonna use that till it's gone. You know, that's generally how it works with me, because I really like the stuff. But it also makes me lazy, like any psychedelic, because I've said that before, you're gonna hear it again. You know, if you don't want to hear that again, you know, just skip to something else. You know, on odyssey.com I also have some movies that are a bit longer, all different styles. Just check it out if you like. It's on my website, there's a link. Because also on YouTube, you know, I cannot say everything that I want, especially in terms of health. You know, it's really weird, but every time I watch a YouTube video, there's an advertisement for some kind of vaccination. You know, that's okay from their side. But if I'm saying here something else, you know, if I would say here, you know, I don't think you need vaccinations. You know, if I would say that, you know, if I would say I don't think you need that, you know, which might be the case, and which could be that I have that opinion, you know, I would maybe run into trouble. And they would possibly ban me from YouTube. You know, that's the risk that I'm running if I say stuff like this. Of course, in a video that's like 1 hour long, the chance that somebody runs into me, you know, mouthing such opinions, you know, it's quite low, the chance of that happening. But still, you know, it's just, I don't really like that. I'm still using YouTube because there's a lot of people on YouTube, and maybe I have a problem with YouTube, but I can still adapt. And that's basically how I learned to adapt also, living with people that are emotionally unstable and traumatized. You know, I know that they feel shit. I can see it. You know, I can see it because their aura is completely blocked. So going out would actually help them. Going out in the nature would help them. But okay, if it's too much, you know, I can take that job as long as I'm here. Because what else am I supposed to do? I like this place here. Sitz. Bleib. Bleib. Yeah. She has a knack for Sitz. Bleib. She has a knack for ignoring that. So I needed to figure out how to live with other people that are also struggling. See, I ain't the only one struggling out here, right? You're struggling, parents are struggling, siblings are struggling, children are struggling, grandparents are struggling. You know, everybody's carrying, yoo-hoo, a load. Today I carried maybe the load of my father, because I'm basically doing, I think I'm doing him a favor. Because I said to him, I'm not going today, just to show him I don't have to, right? I don't have to if I don't want to, but I'm doing it because I can, and I'm there at the moment, and I'm going anyway. So, you know, the only thing I can do is I can give him a nudge in the right direction, so that maybe he starts going out again more. That's all I can do. But if he refuses, you know, I can't do more. So then I say, okay, I'm doing it myself. So, right, she puts that pink thingy there, and she thinks I'm gonna throw it. But if I don't do it, what's gonna happen? Nothing. Well, maybe she's gonna forget it again. But she's just gonna wait there. But I didn't take it. So now she has to run after me. You see, I didn't have to take her today. But I took her, but I also made my point. You know, I said to him, yeah, maybe you feel like shit. You know, I said you have an emotionally unstable son. Hop. Sitz. Bleib. I said to him, you have an emotionally unstable son. You know, I said to him, you know that I feel like I want to commit suicide. And, you know, the least I can say to you is, sometimes it helps to be open about it. Not because you want to create some kind of sob story, but because you want that people know how you feel. That's all there is to it. You want that people know how you feel. You know? I'm a living being, and I have emotions. And for that matter, you know, because I have emotions, I have the right to be heard. And if you come and do something because you want to pick a fight with me, because you know doing this will make me angry because you're angry, and now you're trying to make me angry so that you can let off some steam. You know, I'm gonna at least come to you and tell you that they should stop with this shit and that they should go and walk the dog instead. Because that's actually what they would need. But because they're lazy and they have lost all hope and stuff, you know, they don't want to do that. Right? So I'm taking work off their hands. I'm walking this dog, you know, just to see how family can be. You know, I'm taking care of this dog because at the moment they can't do it, so I'm doing it, right? So what happens? You know, I bring her home, and then from that moment it's them. They have to do the rest. I do the hard bit, and then they have to do the cleaning. And then it's like, oh, she has like stuff in her fur and she's like dirty. And then they're asking me, in what kind of bushes did you send her? You see, No, I don't care. You want me to walk her? Well, I'm gonna walk her. You know, but I'm also gonna make sure she's gonna somewhat have a good time. Yeah, and they don't like that. So then they give me shit about it. You know, instead they could walk her themselves, but they don't. Because it's too much at the moment, and that's okay, and then I get it. Okay, so the least I can do is to make sure I don't throw the thing into really thick bushes. No? That's the least I can do, right? But no, I'm not gonna like be overly anxious about where I throw this thing, because after all, I think it gives them something to do. Because that's sometimes how old people are, that are somewhat trapped in their suffering. You sometimes have to give them a nudge. You know, you give them a pat on their butt and say, what are you fucking doing? Like, get a hold on yourself. You know, you're not dead yet, so don't pretend like you are. And that's why this whole idea of retirement is ridiculous. It's like, I'm a certain age now, and that means I can just sit around and do nothing. Yeah, that's the best way to feel miserable. The best people to be around with are the ones that know how to keep themselves busy. You know, and then family comes and they say, oh, why are you running around so much? Because they're afraid that you're gonna kill yourself doing what you're doing. Well, why shouldn't you kill yourself doing what you're doing? I mean, if I'm old and I have chickens, for instance, yeah? I'm old and I have chickens, you know, and I have to take care of them. And because I'm getting older and maybe my body is stiff or something, I'm often injuring myself. And then my family comes and says, yeah, you shouldn't take care of these chickens anymore. Because they're afraid I'm gonna die. But then what else am I gonna do? If I don't take care of chickens, am I just gonna, you know, sit around feeling shit? You know, at least taking care of chickens, whew, you know, it helps me to do something. You know, and that's how it's supposed to be. Like, you're supposed to be busy. You're not supposed to be sitting around at home just watching movies, right? So when you realize that life has more to it, wow, fucking hell, there's a lot of stuff like stinging, you know, but you know, sometimes it stings. It's my problem that I'm walking here. I could have just walked somewhere else, you know. So that's what I said today to my father. You know, when he tried to tell me, yeah, energy costs money and gas prices are rising and blah blah blah. Yeah, I get that. You know, that's why I'm walking that dog, partly. Also because I think that she deserves to be walked properly and not by somebody who actually hates it. Okay, there's the path. So, you know, when you start to realize there's more to life than watching movies, you will start to create movies. But then you're gonna think, yeah, but should I really create movies? Because, like, you know, it's like destroying the planet, and I mean, if I don't watch movies, why should I create them? Well, I can tell you why. You know, to pass the message on to other people. Why do you think I'm creating all this content for? Because that's the time that we are living in. If you learn something, you put it out there for somebody who wants you to teach him to listen to it. But yeah, of course, if you have nothing to teach, you know, first you have to... Yeah, she does it right. You know, so first, of course, you have to have something to teach. So learn the lesson, live your life, figure out what you want, and then get better at it. You know, I seem to have something to teach, and so I started with the podcast. You know, because I just couldn't help it. Because I had the feeling I wanted to do it. And so I did it. And all kinds of stuff added up to it. Because I got better with it. I realized, okay, I'm going to plan it ahead. Which means the entire year is already done. It's already recorded. The entire year of my podcast. Like every week, one episode. That's how it is. YouTube, I'm just doing additionally. You know, it's advertisement. It's to catch people, to funnel them into my creative work. You know, that's why I'm doing YouTube. But also because it keeps me busy, and because that's what the time requires. Plus also because I can. Right, the times are like this. People want to see you because there are so many scams. There's so many liars. Fuß. There's so many liars out there. People don't know who to trust anymore. So if I'm just talking about, you know, it's gonna take a long time for people to recognize that I have something to say. Because what I'm trying to sell is not the average kind of thing, right? You have to really adjust to the way I think in order to be able to listen to what I have to say. Because also the other thing is, people are so full of themselves, and you know that's how I felt. I didn't trust anybody anymore, because everybody I met was just a bunch of liars. People standing around just talking about how great they are, and you know, it's just a pile of shit ultimately. And in the end you start to realize that, you know, it's like Elon Musk. Oh, he's so great. He's a liar. Of course he's a liar. Hey, of course he's a liar. I mean, he's acting like he's saving the environment. Electric cars, Tesla. I mean, that's a bad joke. Have you read about Nikola Tesla? What he was truly about? Free energy for everyone? Instead, we have this kind of electricity. I mean, that's a bad joke. It's just like, of course, monopoly. That's what the game is about that these people are playing. Monopoly. Right? It's monopoly. So, you know, if Amazon is tricking you into buying their shit, they're not gonna tell you all the bad stuff that's happening. You're gonna find that out because of somebody who let it slip, right? Because somebody leaked it. But everybody's kind of full of shit. It's like, here, this is going, you know, there's some kind of cream that they're advertising everywhere. Oh, you have pain in your joints? Just put on this cream and it's gonna be gone. Oh, miraculously. You know, that's the same shit that happened to me when I had heartburn. You know what these doctors gave me? These pills that block your acid production. You know, the omeprazole or something. You know, the only thing that does is it gets rid of the symptoms, but not of the cause. So the cause was, I was really angry. And I was overeating, you know, I can keep saying that, you know. Amy, Fuß? I don't know if a car is going to come. You know, I have to repeat certain things because I don't know who's listening to this. And if they haven't heard it before, right, you know, at this stage, all I can talk to you about is the things that I see in the world. And sometimes, you know, it just all goes back to the same things. That's what living in a loop is like. So if you feel like you feel really shit, maybe you're just acidic. And maybe it's not just emotions and anger. It might be but it might also be your body, because you eat too much acidic stuff, you put too much coffee into your system. Black tea is also quite like that, riles you up. So you have to be aware of these things. You know, eating gluten, quite bad. You know, because it's like, it's glue, right? Gluten. It glues the small hairs and fibers in your colon. It glues it together. And then it creates all kind of blockages. And that's why you have to probably do some kind of gluten detox, right? But they never tell you that. They say if you have inflammation, you know, it might as well be that you have pain in your knee because your body is too acidic. That might well be. It might well be. You don't know that. Because nobody tells you. I had to figure this shit out by myself. No? I had to figure all of this shit out by myself. You know, people told me some things, but nobody can really teach you. You know, I never had a master. You know, I watch some YouTube videos and I try to copy that. And then I have to work through the feeling of I feel shit. You know, I feel anxious. I feel, I don't know, right? I'm afraid I'm gonna do it wrong. Well, pay attention. Does it hurt? Well, maybe do it a bit less. It's like I went bouldering a couple of times again, you know, with the time I have, the money I have, you know, and how I feel like it. And then I go one time. It's quite incredible. I mean, I hike there. That's a 2-hour hike. I hike there, I boulder, and then I hike back. And then I'm fucked for 2 weeks. I have no strength to go back there again. Why? You could ask yourself, why? I mean, it can't be that exhausting to go and boulder. And then I think, am I getting old? Right? But the truth is actually, which is also one reason I don't want to work there, it's too much. Because the work that I'm doing is quite complicated. And if I keep going to the boulder hall to give them all that attention and teach them things, right? You know, all I'm gonna get out of it is a salary, which is like, I don't know, 10 euros per hour. Apart from the money, I also have to sell something to people that I don't want. Plus, I have to have people that are going to tell me what to do. And you know, the way I know how it is, I'm quite a strong character. So if I go work in other places, they're trying to keep me small. They're trying to push me down. You know, if I'm living with my parents, you know, it's okay to take their shit. Because, you know, they're not gonna fire me. And plus, I always have my mother to kind of back me up because she seems to like me. You know, so whatever my dad does, at least I still have my mother that kind of likes me. You know, that's, for me, it's quite a blessing. Because if she wouldn't be there, it's just like, okay, carnage. It just wouldn't work out. You know, I would just be living another life. So I realize, okay, where can I reach more people to raise awareness for what I'm doing? Well, on the internet. So why would I waste my time and energy working a job I don't want to work? You know, if I can't say I have been given a vision of how my life could be, and I see a way through to make that a possibility, which means I have to stay a lot on my own. I have to record an insane amount of videos, episodes, create art to show the world that I'm better than AI, you know, that you actually can do something, you know, that you can go all out, that you can go nuts on the internet, that you can create your own music, that you can make your own movies, that you can do a podcast, write books, post stuff on Medium, do poetry, that you can do all that shit at the same time, right? I make a song, I make an image, I produce a video with that. And it's even, you know, I love it. The thing that then makes me anxious is that people won't like it. And then I have to remind myself again, that's not what it's about. And that's also why I say, for instance, you know, if I see, for example, Tash Sultana, the way she started. She was alone in her room doing music and she was having a fucking blast. You know, and then people started to want to see her perform this. Do you know how I make music? I record a song and that's it. I don't want to record that song over and over again. I don't want to, you know, stand on stage and do that song exactly how I record, you know, how I wrote it. And do you know why? Because it keeps me trapped in the emotional state I was in when I wrote this song. And the reason, you know, I don't want to be trapped anymore in my emotions. So what I'm doing instead is something else. And that's a hard one, because you think, who am I producing all this stuff for? Well, ultimately for myself. Ultimately, I'm producing it for myself because it makes me happy, so to speak. Because the process of producing content and at the end standing on top and giving birth to a song that you've never heard before, it's like, wow, that's exhilarating. But also that can get boring. And that's why I'm doing all this different kind of stuff. Because if I only produce music, you know, I get stuck in producing music in the same kind of way. And then I just do the same kind of shit over and over again. And then I lose interest. That's my kind of, you know, I'm a Aquarius. You know, I'm like this. I want to be in flow. You know, I want to move. I want to like go into crevices and like, whoa! But I'm also, you know, my ascendant, I think that's the other kind of star, is Scorpio, which means BAM! Right? I'm like, zack! You know, I'm quite a tough fucker. You know, I'm gonna BAM! Hit you with my stinger if you fuck with me. You know, but I'm also on point, right? I can really point out your trauma. If I meet you, I see through you in very short amount of time. And I could pinpoint your problem very easily. But the problem is often when I do that, people say, that's not the case. And I say, okay, figure it out yourself then. Because that's usually what people want. They want to figure it out by themselves. And that's why, you know, my way, the way I talk, it gives people room to figure it out for themselves. You know, it's like I'm just throwing it all out there. It's like bam, 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 bam. Right? Boah, ey du Kuh. Yeah, I don't know. Ja, los? Yeah. I'm gonna walk around.